to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Are you a food entrepreneur? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to Kitchen Dough. I'm Mary Goulet.
And I'm Heather Ryder. And joining us in this segment, we're going to be talking to Matt Jorgensen, who is the co-founder at C.O.O.K Alliance. And the C.O.O.K Alliance, well, you know what? I was going to say what it does, but we might as well just jump right in because we like just jumping right in and have...
It's an acronym, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to have Matt tell us.
All right,
what
Matt.
it is all about. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hi there.
Hi.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being with us. So, you know, we have so much to talk about, but first of all, let's just get right to it and tell us what C.O.O.K Alliance does.
Yeah, so C.O.O.K Alliance stands for Creating Opportunities, Opening Kitchens, and we've been fighting for home cooks' rights to legally and in a dignified way sell food from home since 2014. And basically, our work focused first on legislation in California, which culminated in last year's AB 626, which was the Homemade Food Operations Act. And California is now the first state in the country where home cooks can sell all types of prepared foods to the public if they get what's called a microenterprise home kitchen permit.
And how hard is it to get one of those microenterprise? Because I know that there are some concerns and people who kind of advocate against these laws because they think that it puts the public at jeopardy. What's your response to that?
Yeah, so the work over the last few years has been to get public health on board with essentially thinking about the commercial food system in a little bit of a new way. You know, we're all familiar with the current food regulations, which are very slanted towards commercial scale enterprises, and obviously restaurants and food trucks and venues of that nature are inspected by public health. So our work over the last 3 years has been to work with public health inspectors on a new permit type that acknowledges that if you're selling, you know, say 10 portions of food to family and friends and neighbors, it's really the scale of cooking that we already do for ourselves on a regular basis and doesn't pose a huge new public health risk. And so the MICO permit, the Microenterprise Home Kitchen Permit, only allows you to sell up to 60 portions a week, which is about 10 or 12 a night, and only $50,000 a year. So it's really a small scale incubator or extra income for home cooks. And as a result of the low scale, health regulators have been comfortable with an inspection process that still has very, very high standards in terms of training and sanitation requirements, but lowers some of the commercial standards in terms of needing a 3-basin sink or an industrial range or grease trap, those type of things, to acknowledge that this is smaller scale. And the great thing is after almost 4 years of working with them, public health inspectors are finally on board. And so we're seeing our first permits being issued this month down in Riverside County, which is the first county to opt in. The permit will be a few $100s and a little bit of a process, but a lot less of a barrier than starting a food truck or a brick-and-mortar restaurant.
Because it's very expensive. So we were just talking about how...
Totally.
Yeah, if you didn't have this opportunity of a cottage food opportunity or this new legislation, then people of low income or people who don't have the wherewithal or don't have a nest egg saved are then forced out of competition.
Totally. And that's really where our starting point was as an organization. We spent years working with home cooks that were doing a variety of different enterprises, from selling tamales to doing pop-ups or small-scale catering from home, frankly, because they had no other option. You know, the work in the professional food industry is oftentimes pretty brutal, minimum wage, very intense manual labor. And then for folks that wanted another option, there really wasn't one without taking out oftentimes $100,000 loans to start a food truck or many hundreds of thousands of dollars to start a restaurant. And that's just a risk that a lot of people can't afford to take. So,
or even qualify for.
Of course. And so The cooks that we work with are overwhelmingly women, oftentimes low income and communities of color. A lot of the folks doing informal cooking from home, like I said, small businesses selling tamales or doing pop-ups are immigrant communities. And a lot of this work has been about saying we need to decriminalize this and bring it out of the shadows, because this is work that people already are doing because they have no other option, and it deserves to be dignified and recognized.
Well, I go to a Catholic church, and once a month we get tamales.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a really huge Hispanic population at my parish.
Yeah.
And literally people place their order before Sunday to make sure they get their tamales. So
it's a super familiar story.
Right? So your alliance helps educate people on doing this and doing it legally?
Yeah,
or am I, Heather's the
right.
brainchild. I'm not. I'm just here for color commentary.
Well, and if I'm the brainchild, we're in trouble.
Yeah, Matt. Welcome to the show.
Well, wrap up the show now.
That's spot on. I mean, we're coming now from a few years of really just focusing on this policy work, and as I mentioned, translating some of these labor and social justice interests into equitable legislation for home cooks. And now a major priority of our organization is cook support. So helping cooks become savvier and more empowered entrepreneurs, thinking about how they can make these businesses work for their lifestyles and goals, and not only how to get these permits, but then once you get a permit, how do you think about pricing and sourcing and yourself as a small business entrepreneur.
So how are you monetizing this side for you?
We're not.
Okay, well, there you go.
Which is new to us, and well, not new to us in the Cook Alliance, but as you may or may not know, our organization started out 5 years ago as a for-profit social enterprise called Josephine. We were an online platform and a cooking club and an education program for cooks. And over a couple of years of operating that, we realized two things. One was that we really needed to focus on the policy first, because that was the number one barrier for food entrepreneurs. And the second thing was that having investors to answer to created a form of pressure that we weren't interested in. And so I'm proud to say that the Cook Alliance exists with philanthropic support. We've got public and private funders and government funding, and we're now able to do this work without trying to make a buck off of the cooks that we work with, and that's a great place to be. We can do this policy leadership and cook support, and also think of ourselves sort of as a labor organizing group where we help organize and lift up the collective voice of these cooks to bend the practices of this new industry towards dignified and equitable work. And frankly, I'm not sure if that would have been possible if we were really trying to monetize this in a big way.
Well, and don't you think, because we first met, we've never met in person, but we have been on phone calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you were doing your work with Josephine.
Exactly.
And that was, did you ever feel like, because Mary and I, we've been doing radio and podcasting, and we did stuff for Mom's Town and creating communities for moms online and in person before social media existed.
When Albert Einstein was inventing.
But my point being that we were a little bit ahead of our time, with businesses. And I kind of feel like Josephine was a little bit ahead. You and Charlie are definitely visionaries. And I think that you were maybe... Well, I would. And I think you were a little ahead of the curve with Josephine. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I think that's right. And, it's an interesting curve in the home cooking world, because in some ways we're saying this is new behavior based on the last 100 years of industrial food regulations in the United States. On the other hand, this is some of the oldest and least revolutionary behavior. This is, one of the basic forms of making an income, both historically and around the world. And it didn't really take a visionary to realize that this was an opportunity that had been squeezed out of existence by really just food code that was slanted towards commercial scale enterprises. So, I do think sometimes an organization like Josephine is necessary to push the envelope a little bit and help people see that there is an opportunity. And now we know that there are going to be we know of dozens of startups like Josephine that are hoping to take advantage of this new law that we're taking, that we passed. And our hope is just that by being a little bit ahead of the curve, we now have the opportunity to have a voice and talk about some of these justice issues and make sure that, like I said, this new gig economy, if you will, is dignified and equitable. And that's really exciting for us.
Well, and Josephine for you was a personal connection to that also, because wasn't Josephine a namesake of someone?
I was going to say, who's Josephine?
Yeah. Who's Josephine?
Yeah, so Josephine was our friend's mom, and I think as many people can relate to, the strong women and other community pillars in our lives were just inspiring on many levels, and helped us see that food was about a lot more than just food, or where the food was cooked. It was really about food made with love and the aspect of care and community that comes through when food is shared with people that you love. And that was what the namesake of our organization was, and very much the ethos that the Cook Alliance is now trying to breathe into this new industry and make sure that people see it as a new opportunity to connect with our neighbors and care for each other on a deeper level, not just a new source of labor to be exploited for a profit.
So if you look at the different, shizzle, we're out of time.
On this segment, but you're staying with us
for another
right?
segment.
Matt, you still have time?
I'm still on.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Oh, darn it.
Thank
All
you.
right. You're listening to Kitchen Dough. We'll be right back.
Whether you are a woman, a man, or a young person, your time in a hair salon should be special. I'm Doris Rivas-Brecky, host of Daily Dialogue with Doris on WS Radio, and I look forward to those special moments at Fantastic Sam's located at 124 West Main Street in downtown El Cajon, California, and the Fantastic Sam Salon at 9723 Mission Gorge Road in Santee, California. I go to both depending on which way I'm heading out for work. Both salons are conveniently located by two major freeways. The Fantastic Sam's experience is always positive, uplifting, and family-friendly. Fantastic Sam stylists put your hair needs and desires first. So if you don't know Fantastic Sam's in El Cajon or Santee, California, why don't you give them a try and tell them Daily Dialogue with Doris sent you.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's Pain Management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get to the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life. live it well.